This is Joe Betar.
This is Ramon Robles.
And we talk to fascinating people about their love of hunting, shooting sports, and the outdoors. This is Hunting Matters. Kent Savage has been a friend of mine for quite a while.
He's sitting right next to you.
I know he is.
Okay.
He's looking at me.
Yeah.
Here, Kent. Here's your $20 bill. But I never knew that. I didn't realize how deep his roots in Texas were. Mm-hmm. And you have to pardon the pun because we're going to talk about land today. But we're going to learn about the deep roots of Mr. Kent Savage on Hunting Matters today. Kent Savage, what's going on, man?
I don't know, Joe. Just happy to be here.
Yeah.
Springtime.
I see
hot quick.
You're pretty jumpy over there. I'm guessing you're heading to the coast sometime in the near future.
In about 1 hour.
Yeah. What are you guys going to do?
Ramon says cut. I'm out.
Yeah. What are you guys going to do down there?
We're going to go fishing in the morning.
Yeah.
A couple of my best friends are taking me fishing.
Okay.
Then we get done with that tomorrow morning. We're going to head out to George West area and look at a new ranch they just bought.
Oh, nice.
Which coincidentally was called the Salarita, part of this old Salarita. And whenever they told me that, a bell went off in my head. I was like, the Salarita? And they go, yeah. And I said, I hunted on that place when I was in high school.
Really?
So that was pretty strange.
Wow.
George West. That's a town.
Right.
Never heard of it before. I just Googled it. So,
Really?
Yeah.
South of San Antonio.
Oh, come on. You know of it?
Done a lot of hunting down in George West.
Okay.
Big buck country.
Yeah.
All right. What part of the coast are you going to be at?
Be at Rockport.
Rockport. And fishing.
So not too far away from there.
Yep. And fishing for what?
Whatever we can catch in the bay.
Yeah.
Hopefully some trout.
Now, when you say that, what do you use for bait then if you just hope whatever catches you?
Well, a guide's taking us out, so and I will probably be using live bait.
Here we are, Ken. Yeah. I thought you were the man that did it all.
No,
you just have that aura about you.
I get to go once every year or so. So
yeah,
I'm jealous. Good for you.
It's beautiful weather for it. Hopefully these rains.
Did the rain? Would that do anything for fishing on the weekends?
You just run from them down there on the coast.
Yeah, Monday would have been ideal. The north winds at about 6 miles an hour yesterday, Monday morning. Tomorrow they're forecasting southeasterly winds with gusts up to 30.
Oh, Lord.
Hopefully we'll be done before that happens.
Yeah, white caps out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you get down there and it's worth it. I'm not that familiar with bay fishing and saltwater fishing, and those guys that just live, eat, and breathe that stuff, those guides down there, they're just, they know the tides, they know the weather, they know everything. They know where the fish are. It's just it's always amazing to me. I guess if you spend that much time. I knew a guy that I knew back in high school who owned this successful medical device. He had a medical sales rep group down in the Panhandle of Florida, and he always wanted to be a boat captain. And he sold that business. I guess he was 50-something years old. Wow. Sold that business, and that's what he's doing now. He's guiding people on fishing trips.
Good
Not that he has to.
Yeah.
Just because he can.
Yep.
So
it's amazing what those guys can see out there on the bays. They can look at a bay and tell you the topography of it like I can on in a farm field. Mm-hmm. I grew up farming, so I know how the land lays. They can know how the bottom of that bay lays just by looking at it, which you do it enough, you learn it. My dad learned his expertise was in the surf. Mm-hmm. He could look at a surf and point and go, that's where the fish are.
Really?
And that's not where they're at. And you throw a line out there and you'd catch them, and it's amazing to me. And we'd drive down the beach and he'd say, those guys are too far out. Well, they're only like waist deep, Dad. They're too far out. And he'd go right to the edge of the water and throw it in there. He goes, they missed this whole first gut here. That's where all the fish are. And sure enough, you'd be hooking them up, and
that's just from years of doing
it, living your life down there.
Yeah.
See the water, how it changes, where the little cuts are, and how the water's coming in and out and ripping. It's just amazing.
Never used a GPS or
never. Didn't even know how to use it.
Yeah.
He learned how to use an iPhone.
Yeah.
Last few years of his life, but yeah.
And then you and me are standing on the beach with a brewski in our hands, going, "Look at the waves."
Yep.
And not thinking about isolating specific areas for fishing and things like that. Yeah. Did you grow up in Texas, Kent?
Grew up in Bay City, Texas.
So you grew up around the water.
My family landed in Matagorda County in 1826.
Wow.
First Savage hit the shore.
So that makes you how old? That's crazy. That long ago.
Yes, sir.
Where'd they come from?
New York. Actually, New York City.
Wow.
They left New York on a schooner called the Little Zoe, landed in Matagorda, Texas in 1826, and his name was Emilius Savage. And I have the history of my family all through that century, and I knew my great-grandfather very well. He gave me my first rifle, took me on my first fishing trip. I distinctly remember that. He was a great hunter, amazing man. He was born in 1886.
Wow.
And died in 1974.
Wow. He saw some.
I was 14 years old.
Wow.
And that was just, I have very good memories of him, and just imagine what he went through in his life, what changes he saw. So he was just an old cowboy, and he loved to hunt and fish.
Yeah. What brought them to Texas from New York?
Stephen F. Austin.
Tex-Mex.
Given the opportunity to come to Texas and start a new life. And so, yeah, it's you got down there and landed. He granted him land. I was reading through the history of it, and my Emilius, he actually got 4,000 acres granted to him in Fayette County. And he had land all over. But they always ended up back in Matagorda County around Blessing, Tres Palacios area. And then eventually a lot of them ended up in Collegeport. My dad was born and raised in Collegeport.
Okay.
And then I guess in 1949, my grandfather bought a ranch on the north side of Bay City, about 2,000 acres. And they called it 6 Bar Ranch, and that's where I grew up, on that 2,000 acre ranch.
Wow.
So we were primarily cattle ranchers, cow-calf operation that farmed a little bit. And by the time I got out of high school, we were big farmers that had a few cows.
Okay, there you go.
Kind of the turn of the tide with prices and stuff. But yeah, I grew up in a ranching family and farming, and rice farming mostly, grains, small grains. So
wow,
always had a place to go hunting.
Yeah,
and we lived out there. So
wow, so you've always been tied to the land. Your family has, and you always have. And for folks who are just joining us, Kent Savage is with us today. And Kent, you were with Capital Farm Credit. Tell our listening audience what you do with Capital Farm Credit.
So I'm a relationship manager, which is a long version of a loan officer.
Okay.
I started in 2013. I started with Capital Farm Credit, and I was actually one of the first relationship managers by title in the company. I think there were 3 or 4 others. We were all hired around the same time, and we were brought on to build relationships, because honestly, the 3 or 4 of us that were hired call that we were really not your traditional banker background. We were all from other job experience. I'd been in sales and marketing my whole career in agriculture, whether it be livestock production or crop production, one or the other, my whole career. The other guys were the same. That were started all together, and it was kind of a so-called experiment. See how people that have a sales background doing in banking, and it's worked out really well. We've hired a lot of more people like that in the last 10 years. So a lot of young people that have some sales experience. So.
Yeah. What does Capital Farm do specifically?
So Capital Farm, we're part of the Farm Credit System, which was established in 1917, and it was created to give farmers and ranchers access to money to finance agricultural property, to expand their operations. It is also created to give them access to operating capital to do the farming and ranching. So that's, through the years has evolved into different banks and combinations of banks, and which upon Capital Farm Credit was started, I believe, I'm not even really sure the year, in the 1990s. And we are one of now 5 farm credits in Texas. We're the largest. We have an annual lending of about $13 billion now.
Wow.
Most of that is real estate, rural real estate, and then the rest. And then we do, of course, the agricultural production side. farm, operating loans, things like that. So it's primarily to help farmers and ranchers have access to affordable money.
Okay. And you've seen a lot over your career. A couple of questions. How did your agriculture background help you? How does it help you when you go out and have to look at a piece of property or advise people?
Well, I guess for one, when I actually go to a farm and ranch, there's probably a 95% chance I know what the heck they're doing. I've seen it or been around it or even done it myself. So
right.
That's a big deal. A lot of commercial bankers, can't tell you the difference between a soybean and a cornfield, or can't tell you what breed of cow that is standing in the field.
Right.
So, that's a big difference. I don't have to deal with the swine industry. We do deal a lot with the poultry industry in the state of Texas. That's not my expertise by any means, but I can pretty much tell you what that barn is or what's in that barn by looking at it, where, that's something to be different. A lot of people couldn't do. Just knowing how farmers and ranchers think, what's their mode of operation, how
Sure.
they operate, what they think, because I've been in their shoes
Mm-hmm.
and I've dealt with them my whole life. Going out and knowing where those guys assimilate, who they talk to,
Yeah.
who they do business with, lets me have a huge network of people that I can contact and ask about, hey, who might need some financing, who's the guy I need to go see, or vice versa. I tell those people, hey, if you know of a customer you have that's looking for some financing, send him to me. I can help him out.
Right.
So that's, I guess, the biggest thing is just a relationship of over the years I've had of almost 40 years of being in the agriculture community all over Texas, really. So,
and you guys, I know several of your peers and your coworkers I've met over the years as well, and you guys have this, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. You guys seem to have this approach that it's not a high pressure approach. It's we're looking to help people. We're helping people to be able to fulfill their business, realize their dream. And I don't mean this to sound like a commercial, but that's just kind of the take I get from talking to people that have dealt with you guys and kind of watching you guys in action.
Yeah. So one of the things that we kind of like to use in our company is we want to be your trusted advisor. We want to be the person that you can trust to give you the best advice on what you're doing or help you out or steer you in the direction of the person that you need to talk to if we're not that person. Or you need help with just something you're doing on your operation that we see that might help you. We'll try to give you some advice or some names and numbers of who to call to help you out in that, because we probably have a relationship with those people already. So yeah, that's what I think is. You're looking for that catchphrase, trusted advisor.
Right.
Our logo or our saying is "Together we're better."
Yep.
So,
yep. And two, I'm thinking a guy who's a new landowner, you go, well, I just bought this ranch. I have no clue what I'm doing. I need a contact to help me put a pond or a tank on it. And you guys can connect them to there.
You bet.
I'm just using that as one example.
I've got 3 or 4 of those in my pocket all the time. Just knowing where the guy's at and what they're looking for. That's ones I'll give them, or I'll give them all of them.
Yeah.
Say who I'm not going to do their business for them, but here's some guys that I trust.
Right. Yeah, that's I can't imagine the network that you guys that you've accumulated over the years. How Ramona and I, you just not too long ago bought some property, I think, but I've never made a big land purchase before. How hard is that process? How long does it take? I'm asking kind of general terms here, but for those who are kind of thinking about making that next big move.
So there's really 2 levels. Under $1 million is a relatively easy transaction, and I know I spit out $1 million pretty easy there, but it's the truth. If you're looking for a property and your budget is under $1 million, I can send you an application. You can fill it out. Send me the very minimal required things that go along with that,
right? And
I can probably have you an answer within 48 hours or less. To tell you, yay, Joe Vitar, I'm behind you for that $990,000 property you want.
Yeah.
Go find it. Over $1 million, there's a little more work to that. You're going to have to provide us with a lot more financial information. But as far as the limit, there is none.
Okay.
We finance some of the biggest sales in the history of the United States, rural agriculture sales. So, there's no limit to what we can do. and we've done them.
Yeah.
But it's a relatively easy process. Some people may not think so sometimes, but usually when I get to looking at their financials, I usually figure out that those people that say it's kind of a pain, they've never borrowed money before.
Yeah.
Because they're usually in pretty good financial shape.
Right.
I was like, these people never borrowed money. That's why they don't have a handy balance sheet or something.
Yeah.
And so we'll help you through it. You know, it's always a little bit of a bump sometimes, but but under $1 million, I could set you up next week, Joe.
Okay.
Come see me.
So it's basically me, we would come in, we're like pre-qualified, and we were thinking about buying land, or we've seen some land where maybe,
Sure, that's a thing that you want to do is if you're getting ready to go shop, is give us a call, and we'll get you pre-qualified, pre-approval, we call it, and you have that letter in your hand. If you're approved for X amount of dollars, you can go out and you find a place that realtor's going to ask you for it anyway.
Sure.
Hand it to them, say, here's my offer, and go from there. Same thing with over $1 million. It's going to be a conditional commitment, we call it. There's a lot more moving parts there, but same thing. You go get pre-qualified and go, and that's then it's just nowadays the hard part's finding the property,
right? Oh yeah,
and negotiating the price. That's the hard part now.
It's funny. No matter how well you know this land, you always seem to get lost in it. That's because it's your escape, your place to reconnect to nature and yourself. At Capital Farm Credit, we're proud to help people like you purchase recreational land where you can hunt, fish, four-wheel, or simply get lost in. To learn how we can help you secure land like this, visit CapitalFarmCredit.com. Capital Farm Credit. Together, we're better.
Hunting Matters is presented by DEA Ranch. Are you looking for the ultimate South Texas hunting experience? Then look no further than DEA Ranch. DEA Ranch offers some of the best whitetail and exotic game hunts in South Texas year-round. Whether you're looking to fill your freezer or put the next hunting memory on the wall, their professional guides are focused on ensuring each client has a memorable and exciting hunting experience. DEA Ranch offers guided hunts, professional staff, chef-prepared meals, trophy preparation, and more. To learn more, go to DEARanch.com. That's DEARanch.com. Hunting Matters is presented by RC Cartridges. Founded in Italy in 1970, RC Cartridges is a family-owned business dedicated to technology, innovation, and shooting excellence. RC has a historic legacy as a provider of ammunition for Olympic champions, and they are constantly evolving with the goal of producing the highest quality cartridges available. RC is as passionate about shooting and hunting as you are. Whether it's hunting or shooting, steel or small caliber, RC Cartridges has the shotgun shell options to meet your needs. Go to rccartridgesusa.com to learn more. That's rccartridgesusa.com.
When seconds matter in the game, every single decision made can mean a big win or a frustrating loss. When it comes to buying your next home and selling your existing home in the current market, every decision can mean serious money. Aggie fans, it's Dave South, and as you know, I've studied the best players and the best teams to represent our A&M family. One thing I've learned over the years, the best coaches have the respect of their team and the 12th man, you, the fans. In Bryan College Station, no realtor has more 5-star reviews on Google than Lance Lester and his team at the Lester Group. Why is that? Simple. No one offers more options that benefit you. If you want to buy your next home before you sell your current home, Lance can help you do that. If you want to know the date and price that you can count on your home selling for, Lance can guarantee it in writing. When the game is on the line, you want a leader with a proven track record calling the shots. Get your home sold faster and for the most money. Work with my friend Lance Lester and the Lester Group. Go to thelestergroup.com. That's thelestergroup.com and experience lightning in a bottle selling your home.
What's one of the biggest mistakes people make when they start looking at larger, land purchases, whether they're ranchettes or ranches or?
Oh, mistakes. I don't know. Gosh. Yeah. I guess probably finding out that it's not that easy to find sometimes.
Yeah.
Definitely a big mistake I see is if you don't have a good qualified agent to help you.
Yeah.
I would say that's my biggest piece of advice to give somebody, because they're always going to come back to, well, I don't have a realtor. And can you answer that? I said, no, I'm not a realtor. I can't answer that. So finding a good realtor, broker that knows rural real estate
Yeah.
I'm not knocking on home realtors, but there's a lot of difference.
Oh yeah.
And so we got to make sure you find a good qualified rural ranch, or we call them farm and ranch brokers, real estate agents. And that would be my biggest piece of advice. Tell somebody. And, what can you afford?
How much do you want your monthly car payment to be?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. And you get people backing into it that way sometimes.
Yeah, they do.
But with land prices as they are nowadays, used to you could go out and you could find 20 or 30 acres for, $150,000, $200,000, and now it's
Wow.
20 acres, 400,000. So
Really? What is the state? What's the state of land, the availability, and we know we've seen it change a lot, and there's a lot more people moving to Texas and buying land, and of course, land's always a great asset to have in your portfolio. What's changed, and now what's available now? Things still available?
Well, I can tell you this: there's not any more acreage available now than there was 50 years ago.
Got it. Yep.
That's my joke.
Yep. That's perfect. No, it's absolutely right.
But nowadays it's what do you think is feasible? During the COVID, craze, for whatever reason, people decide they need to get out of the city.
I guess they were yeah.
And we went crazy for 2 years financing land that people were just pouring out of the cities into the rural landscape. And so now finding a piece of land that, that you want, and then is that really what I want to pay? The prices, I think the market softened a little. Sellers are willing to negotiate a little bit now. So that helps. But yeah, it's just been crazy. The prices were driven up. As we all know, they usually don't ever come down.
Right.
But I think they have softened and probably stay around this way for a while. The interest rates, have crept up considerably over the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. We're double what it used to be.
What are lending rates, kind of just in general terms these days?
That's another very open-ended question.
Yeah,
so,
I know it's
unlike home mortgages and conventional bank loans. Their rates are pretty much set. Even mortgage, a 30-year mortgage is this and 20-year mortgage is that. Ours vary depending on customer strength, financial strength, term of the loan, loan to value, whatever that's going to be. So
does it matter what they're doing with the property?
Well, it needs to be, as a rural property, it can be farmland, ranch land, or what we call recreational property. Mm-hmm. That's, the majority of people are looking for recreational property. Then you have home sites and things like that. Yeah. But so home sites, we consider anything less than 10, 15 acres. Anything over that, you usually can consider it an ag property.
Okay.
So, but yeah, recreational property is a big deal, as you can imagine. Mm-hmm. People living in Houston, they want 100 acres or 200 acres or 2,000 acres. So, but to go back to your question is, what was the question?
As far as lending rates, you were talking, you were explaining how they're part of the term fluid in this market.
So I would tell you today's market, that's today.
Yeah,
you're probably going to be a point to 3/4 of a point lower than 8.5.
Yeah,
or maybe 1/2 point to 3/4 of a point higher than 8.5.
Yeah.
So it's kind of all over the board.
Yeah,
that 8.5 is pretty close to where it'd be on a a simple under.
A couple of years ago, and it was like at 4 or something.
3 or 4 years ago, you'd be down to 4% range probably.
Yeah, and the terms are 30 years, just like a mortgage.
We will go up to 30 years. The other part that we bring up, the interest rate part, because of our special, unique part of being a farm credit bank, is we pay up, and specifically Capital Farm Credit, we have a very aggressive patronage program that we call it. And when you make a loan with Capital Farm Credit, you become a member of the cooperative. We are a co-op. We pay back a dividend or a patronage payment every year back to our customers. So when you include the payments that we send back to you, because we're paying you actual cash, it's not some shifty paperwork deal. We actually send you a check every March.
No green stamps or Groupon certificates.
We don't discount your loan or anything.
Right, sure.
We send you a check every March based on your loan amount, your terms, and all that. And you can do that money whatever you want. And that, obviously, if we're giving you money back, then we're not taking all your interest.
Right.
And that's one part of the program. The other part is called an allocated equity, which is another pool of money that goes in and is held for a minimum of 8 years. After that, the board of directors, if they are approved to pay that, they will pay that out in late fourth quarter of the year once you become eligible. So like last year, we paid out 2014 allocated equities.
Okay.
So we were 9 years in, we paid those 2014 allocated equities out. That's an additional payment. So when you take all of those payments back to you into consideration, just use 8%.
Okay.
That effective interest rate is probably going to be about 6% or less based on all those payments we give you back.
Yeah.
Got it.
To give you an idea how much we do pay back, I just looked our 2023 payments back to our customers, cash distribution and allocated equity was $234 million. So it's not a little bit.
U.S. dollars.
Yeah, it's real money.
Not pesos.
Yeah. Not
That's
monopoly money.
significant.
That's great.
That's something.
That's really good.
We're actually, like I said, we're very, very proud of that program. It's been that way for years, way before I came. We have the most aggressive patronage program there is. All farm credits have that. Just we're a little more aggressive and really proud of that program that we have. And
You obviously love your customers more than the other guys. It's plain to see.
yeah.
And you guys, just to avoid any confusion, you guys are Texas specific, Texas only.
Right. Every state has a farm credit system or bank. Most states have one. A lot of them have two. Texas was the only one, of course, that has to have more than one or two because we're bigger.
Right. Sure. Of course.
No, but I think when I started 10 years ago, 11 years ago, there were 13. So I just said a while ago that I think there's 5 now.
Wow.
And there may be
That's crazy.
one less after that in another month, I heard. So they've been kind of eating each other. We haven't had a merger in probably 20 years, I don't believe. But a lot of the other smaller banks are kind of merging together. So, but we're still, I think if you take all the other banks and add them together in Texas, they're still not as big as we are. So
Yeah.
And to answer your question, we are in Texas, but I can do loans for land in another state. If there's a few rules we kind of go by there, but if you're a good current customer and you're looking to buy a place out of Texas, we can get consideration to do that loan in another state. We just have to ask for concurrence, and they say, "Yeah, we let you do that, and we'll finance. You want to buy a big ranch in Colorado or Wyoming, we can do that."
Yeah, does that happen often, or is that just kind of a rarity?
Yeah, it's a rare deal.
Yeah.
First of all, those people, people that go out and buy another couple thousand acres.
Sure.
But yeah, we do have them. Sure.
Oh yeah, I know guys that are buying a little bit of property in every state they can get in.
Why not?
A piece of land here and there.
I'm just playing with your loan calculator on capitalfarmcredit.com.
Oh,
And I'm crunching some numbers. I might apply for a loan here by the end of the podcast.
you can log in and get after it.
Yes, sir.
It's all online.
Yep.
You can do that. That's another thing that we're pretty efficient. So
Yeah.
you'd be surprised how many loan applications we get after a weekend.
Oh, I can imagine, especially after like Saturday morning at 2 a.m.
Yeah. Sure, honey, we can buy that place.
Yeah.
But no.
And then there's the rush of phone calls on Monday morning. Hey, listen, man, I accidentally filled out that form this weekend. It wasn't me.
No, it's pretty good. It keeps us busy, and I tell you the truth, most of those are good.
Yeah. How many employees does Capital Farm Credit have? Because you guys are everywhere.
Yeah, we have about 67 offices across the state.
Okay.
We were up to over 600 employees, and I think when I started 11 years ago, I was employed like 275.
Really?
So yeah, we had a big growth spurt. I think we're back down in the 500 number now, though.
Right.
So we had a fast ride. We were actually, like I said a while ago, we had just crossed $5 billion in lending.
Wow.
And now we're at 13.
Jeez. That's crazy.
In 11 years.
So there's people, obviously, you're an Aggie, you graduated A&M. Sometimes y'all will make an exception and hire somebody that graduated from University of Texas. I'm sure. Do they y'all all get along pretty well out there?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
You know, that's the thing is when I talked about trusted advisor a while ago, I'd say 70 or 80% of our loan officers or relationship managers probably have some experience in the agriculture, community. They either raised on a farm and ranch, they showed animals, they have a tie to it. When you're in agriculture, you love it.
Yeah.
And you have a passion for it. I worked for Purina Mills for 15 years, and my boss, I would never forget that. He said, salesman, he goes, we're not all here because we think we're making a bunch of money. We're doing it because we love the job. And that was never a true statement because we weren't making a lot of money. But and I still have some of my dearest friends still work there because they love it and they love the community and the people. And the same way with Capital Farm Credit, we're a big family. Everybody gets along. We all have the same kind of outlook on life and what we want to do with our family. And, raising the kids in agriculture and, big time stock show following in that deal. Everybody's always posting each other, everybody's kids that are showing, and
sure,
it's a fun deal.
It's a community.
Yeah, big time. And we're in the big city, here.
Oh yeah.
You got to imagine all of our offices all across the state. I mean, we have offices in communities that have 3,000 people.
Sure.
And so tight knit.
Sure. Absolutely. You guys, like you said, the cool thing is all you guys that are out there in the field, you've got all these contacts. If Ramon needs to hire a biologist, you probably get in touch with a biologist. If he needs a feed guy to start showing up every month, you can put him in contact with that. And I know Capital Farm Credit is they're in the business of making money and helping people out with their property purchases and that sort of thing. But you guys have been a long time supporter of Houston Safari Club Foundation. I know Capital Farm Credit supports a lot of things from, like you said, from 4-H to cattle programs, cattle raising, all kinds of programs. Why is that? Because I know you're involved in it personally too, which I want to talk about. But why is that important? Is that being a good neighbor a mentality of Capital Farm Credit, or?
Well, we finance all this rural property and these ranches and things and recreational property, and we feel like too that that land should be respected and taken care of as well. So we've always had a strong affiliation with organizations that teach you conservation and restoration and things like that, because as I said a while ago, the same number of acres is here that was 50 years ago.
Sure.
So you got to keep care of what we have.
Yeah.
So that's always been a strong belief in the company that we have to give back to the land.
Right.
And our customers, we feel like most of them want to do that. So that's why we tend to, participate in a lot of conservation activities and game activities, because those hunters are the things that make that conservation world go round, in my opinion. Everybody always accuses the hunter wanting to kill and destroy everything, but that's the total opposite of what they all want to do. I mean, we're here to make sure that they're there for the future. So that's why we participate in all these things.
Yeah. I don't think you can go to a rodeo or a show or something anywhere that you don't see a Capital Farm Credit. Yep. And usually this guy, usually Kent's there standing there in the booth, but I mean, you guys are everywhere as far as that goes. And you kind of, you haven't grown up, on the land, on the water, obviously it's in your blood, but you've actually made that part of your life as a grown up to be affiliated with organizations and serving organizations. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, when I started with Capital, I'd always heard about like Houston Safari Club and other safari clubs, but I'd never been to one of your conventions.
Right.
And matter of fact, the third week I started the job, I attended my first Houston Safari. It was the first event that I attended after working for Capital.
Oh yeah.
And at the Woodlands,
yep.
And that was my first event. And I thought, wow, this is a pretty cool club. And as I've said before, that I've gotten so many relationships through that organization. Met so many people and developed a lot of friends through it that, I'll be a part of it even when I'm gone from Capital, because it's been a great learning experience. Met a lot of friends, learned a lot of things. I had known you back from your previous job and in my previous job when I attended those conventions, but then you came to the Safari Club and
you just couldn't get away from me.
We've had a long relationship, but it's really grown. You've introduced me to a lot of folks, and I think it's a great organization.
It's funny because one of your counterparts, coworkers, Tommy, was around forever, and this guy retired from Capital Farm Credit, and he still shows up at convention every year. He's there for the banquets. He's there volunteering, helping people move in, and it kind of gets in your blood. You can't get away from it.
Tommy was very passionate about Safari Club when I first started, and I did mostly marketing for the first 6 or 8 years I was here, and I remember he was always like, "Kent, we got to stay involved with this. I want you to get involved with Safari Club." And even when he retired, he's like, "You're going to stay?" Yes, sir. We're staying there. Like you said. Now he's a lifetime member, and he's out there working, and he comes and hangs out at the booth with us. But he loves it, and he's been to Africa a couple of times.
Oh yeah, at
he's
least.
Always ready to go, and he's got a big place, South Texas. He likes to hunt. So it's just great opportunity for everybody to meet people and grow relationships in all fields, like we talked about earlier.
Turn a gun you like into one you love. You'll shoot better with the Boyd's Hardwood Gun Stock. Upgrade your firearm to Boyd's and your gun will fit you better and look better. Boyd's uses only top-grade hardwoods because a hardwood stock performs. Boyd's gun stocks are engineered to fit precisely on its specified gun model. Their engineers have continued to perfect manufacturing methods since 1981. That's why you get far more gun stock for your money. Boyd's makes gun stocks for hundreds of gun brands and thousands of models. Shoot better today at boydsgunstocks.com. Nobody wants to imagine an emergency on a hunting trip, but when the unexpected happens, you want the team of medical and security experts at Global Rescue to be there for you. Global Rescue Operations Centers are staffed by experienced personnel, and you'll always speak to an expert on the first call. With unparalleled capabilities to transport members to their home hospital of choice, you'll get back to your preferred hospital, not the closest. So, trade what-ifs for peace of mind with convenient travel services designed for the unexpected. Learn more at globalrescue.com/hunting matters.
Gunworks is a Cody, Wyoming-based manufacturer and provider of premium long-range rifle systems, optics, components, and training. Since 2006, Gunworks has led the charge in innovating and engineering premium quality long-range shooting technology, equipment, and techniques with a singular goal of providing hunters the ability to achieve quick and effective one-shot kills at whatever distances shots are encountered. The Gunworks team is dedicated to service and perfection and purpose-built products ready for 1,000 yards out of the box. Learn more at gunworks.com. That's GUNWERKS.com.
Hey, I'm Trace Atkins, and if you grew up hunting like me, you know the importance of sound, or more importantly, silence. Every step, every breath, every move gets made with purpose. Silencers control the noise, and thanks to Silencer Central, buying one is now easier than ever. Plus, Silencer Central ships straight to your front door. Visit silencercentral.com/simple to see how you can get silence delivered.
You're personally involved in a group called the Wildlife Habitat Federation.
Exactly, yeah. I'm on the board of trustees for that. Got one of your former guests on the show here, Jim Willis. Mm-hmm. I brought him in. We and Ramon were thinking it was back in January of 2022.
Yeah, that's
right before the convention. Mm-hmm. Jim started the Habitat Wildlife Federation. Wildlife Habitat Federation, excuse me. And he has restored lots of coastal prairie out west of Houston and been real successful. Unfortunately, Jim had some health issues in the past, and he's had to step down as president, but the organization is still going strong, I think stronger than ever, doing a tremendous amount of work. Mm-hmm. Got a bunch of new board members and a lot of support, have a great a bunch of advisors as well.
Right.
And people looking to put their pasture or ranch back into native grasslands, give them a look, WHF.com, and we're a nonprofit organization that helps you write a plan. It will help you implement the plan, do the work for you if you so choose, and follow through with all the groundwork, or just advise you on it or whatever. But it's a great organization. We've got a good team of consultants on the ground all over the state of Texas.
Are there incentives for landowners to do restorations on their properties?
Well, mostly because it does improve your value of your property.
Right.
There's lots of programs that they can apply for, and we'll also WHF will help you find those grants and things that you need to help pay for that. Gary Stevens is our president, and he used to work for the NRCS for years.
Yeah.
So he knows all the ins and outs of getting those funds available to help you get your land or get the money to do what you need to do to the land to get it back into shape.
The reason I ask, you hear people talking about, well, I've got an ag exemption, I got this kind of cross fencing, this many cattle, whatever. I was just curious to notice theirs, because you're right. I mean, if you restore that habitat, you restore those grasslands, your property is going to have better value, and it's going to also be better for the wildlife that's on it.
Exactly.
I just didn't know if there were any other funding incentives or anything like that for landowners around
there
that.
Could be, Joe. I'm not the specialist on that, but
sure.
there's always something in there. It's amazing how many grants and things you can get if you go to digging.
Yeah.
Wildlife exemptions and ag exemptions, those are more for just tax reasons, but everybody needs to have those if they are a rural property. Because
what's a wildlife exemption?
So a wildlife exemption is another form of ag exemption, I would say, for lack of better words, where you're not exactly running cattle or having some type of agricultural production. You can do a wildlife exemption, which also allows you to have that considerable tax deduction. There's like 5 or 6 requirements you have to meet with the state, and you have to do 3 of those, I believe. And once you meet those requirements, you just have to prove to the tax assessor or that you're doing those things and your property is wildlife exempt. And as we're talking about that, there's other industry allies out there that will help you make sure those things are being met.
Okay.
So there's all kinds of programs out there to use. It's just a matter of finding them. And again, we can refer you to some of those people and get those things.
If you're listening, folks, capitalfarmcredit.com is the website. It's a place to go and get, there's a lot of resources. There's not just information on lending and land. You guys do a lot of educational materials and a lot of other value-added tools for those searching for land, those that have land that are looking to expand.
And not only just to buy the land, if you do have it and you do have some production needs, if you do want to ranch it, we can help you with capital improvements on land, building barns, building roads, building water tanks, fences, anything that's an improvement to the property we can finance. If you want to farm some of it, every bit of it doesn't have to be in wildlife. You got to have some income coming in, right? So if you got to farm it, we can finance the farming operation, help you buy tractors, equipment, seed, the whole. We have a big production agriculture portfolio. That's what we call it when you're lending on the production side of it. So, it's besides not just purchasing land, but all the things that go along with it, we can provide. And we also, as like anything else, is always looking. I know Safari Club's always looking for new, young, active members. We're looking for new, young, active farmers and ranchers, and we have a very aggressive YBS program, we call it, which means Young Beginning Small.
I saw that.
So we will help young, beginning small farmers get started. We kind of, bend the rules a little bit or help those people out a little bit.
Sure.
On getting finance because they probably don't have a real strong financial.
Of course.
So you got to help those guys get started, especially the ones that really want to do it, whether they have a family member that's in it or their family did it previously, or there's somebody that just decided, my dad was an accountant his whole life and all I heard him do was, complain about being in the office all day. I'm going to go be a farmer. We can help those guys out too. So, it's about getting those young people in there and get involved, get them started. We'll help those guys out too. So that's a program we've really started focusing on the last couple of years. It's always been around. we're trying to put a more of a focus on that. And I've gotten 2 YBS applicants and approved their loans in the last 2 months. So
that's good.
I'm pretty proud of that. They're small guys trying to start out and get into something. One of them's a cattle loan, and the other one's a guy doing hay production. And he's being mentored by another farmer there.
Wow.
And those are cool to do. I'm, hoping he makes it and gets to expand and grow his operation.
Mm-hmm. I'm just reading the qualifications. Younger than 35, is that right?
Right.
And just beginning farming and ranching with less than 10 years experience. That's really cool. I mean, that is specifically tailored to that guy or girl.
Right.
Pretty neat.
The state, I didn't know you guys did that. The state of the agriculture industry, I can't imagine. There's a level of respect that I have for people that are getting into that and starting that because it's never been an easy way of life.
Yeah, it's to go back 35, 40 years. I born and raised on a ranch. And I thought that was all I was ever going to do.
Yep.
And I'd started A&M, and my dad always told me, he said, when you get out, I'll throw the keys at you when you graduate. And unfortunately, about 18 months before I graduated, he called me and said, well, you're not going to get the keys. We're having to sell out, And it was the big collapse of the 80s, and we were caught in it. And so really, unfortunately, my first job in the summer of 85 when I graduated was to go home and start packing up.
Wow.
Moving off the ranch. And got all that done, and I thought, oh, I got to go get a job. And I did, and started in the animal reproduction side, and through the years, worked my way up. I said I finally made it to the top of the agricultural food chain because now I'm lending money to farmers. So.
Yeah,
but I worked my way up from, just being a route salesman for a genetics company out of Castroville, Texas, and covering about 2/3 of the state, traveling about 70,000 miles a year.
Jeez.
And then going back home and selling fertilizer, and went to work for another company and traveled all over the United States selling livestock scales of all things.
Oh my gosh. You talk about a hard sell.
And learned about everything that I didn't know about, right? So I only knew how to raise cattle on the Gulf Coast of Texas. Well, I got to see them raising cattle in California and Montana and the Nebraska plains and Florida, all over. And not only cattle, pigs. I've been on the top of a pig barn, and I've been underneath the pig barn.
No, thank you.
I want to go back. And then, like I said, I worked for Purina Mills for 15 years in the feed business around the greater Houston area. And then had the opportunity to come work for Capital Farm Credit, and I worked my way up. So just keep clawing and scratching and building relationships. And,
sure.
Honestly, I remember I was in between jobs or not in between. I was kind of looking, you're always kind of looking out. I had got the word that, hey, somebody was, I believe it was Purina, they were looking for somebody. And I called them, and they said, no, I think we got it filled. And I said, okay, well, and it's almost 2 years to the month. I got a phone call from that same guy, and he said, you still interested? And I said, yes, sir. And he said, well, come see me, and that worked out for 15 years.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Wow.
That was interesting.
The timing just wasn't right for you the first time.
For either one, yeah.
Yeah.
You made a good impression on him.
Yeah. I don't know about that. I made an impression. No, not good.
Let's see. He's upright. He's mobile. He's grew up on a farm.
Willing to travel.
Yeah.
Hunting Matters is sponsored by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Under the visionary leadership of founder Johnny Morris, Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's is leading North America's largest conservation movement. Together with their partners in conservation, they're positively shaping the future of the outdoors through donations, grant making, and advocacy. The 501c3 Outdoor Fund raises funds to support conservation efforts by activating more than 200 million passionate sportsmen and women, rounding up their purchases in Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's stores and online. Visit BassPro.com or Cabela's.com today. today. The Houston Safari Club Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that supports the future of hunting and conservation. Wildlife and habitat conservation, youth education and outdoor experiences, scholarships, and anti-poaching efforts are just a few of the programs supported by this organization. Monthly events, an annual convention, award-winning publications, networking opportunities, and valuable resources for hunting knowledge are just a few of the benefits of being a member of Houston Safari Club Foundation. If you're searching for a group of people dedicated to protecting the future of hunting, look no further. Join Houston Safari Club Foundation today at wehuntwegive.org or call 713-623-8844.
Being on a shooting team provides our youth with valuable life skills like confidence, responsibility, and leadership. However, most of the nation's youth shooting teams have little or no funding. The Midway USA Foundation is a 501c3 public charity working to sustain and grow the shooting sports industry by providing long-term funding to thousands of these teams, probably one in your community. Learn how the Midway USA Foundation is changing the future of youth shooting sports. Visit midwayusafoundation.org.
Are you interested in breeding exotic wildlife as a method of generating cash flow for your ranching operation? Wildlife Partners is an innovative wildlife conservation company that is the largest breeder, buyer, and seller of exotic wildlife in America. Let them show you how wildlife breeding and ranching can help secure the future of animal species while generating cash flow and substantial first-year tax deductions. Wildlife Partners serves more than 500 private landowners in Texas and numerous conservation-minded investors throughout the U.S. Non-landowners can also own wildlife. To learn more, go to wildlifepartners.com.
Listen, I got to ask something. I don't know how much you hear about this, but, chronic wasting disease across the country, and now more so in Texas than ever before, has always been a big topic of conversation. There's a lot of stuff going on at the state and federal level as far as, dealing with deer breeders in Texas and funding at the federal level for chronic wasting disease research and early intervention, that sort of thing. Are you guys, do you and or your team members get that question, hey, I'm looking at this property, has chronic wasting disease ever been detected on this property or near it? I'm just curious how the two are tied together.
I haven't personally been asked.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't speak for everybody else, and we do have, relationship managers all over the state, and there's not a whole lot of the breeding operations down here like
Sure.
there are in the hill country, even though there are some down here.
Yeah.
But I've never been asked that.
Okay.
I don't know how much of a concern it is. I'm sure it is to some people.
Yeah, it's just people that are uninformed. It's been mislabeled the zombie deer disease. Unfortunately, I think, and we know what we don't know. I mean, we know how it's caused. We know how it's transmitted. There's a lot of things we don't know about chronic wasting disease. And I was just curious to find out if a guy's coming in, let's say they happen to keep up with the stuff that's going on and disease process and that sort of thing, and has heard of chronic wasting disease. Anytime in Texas or any other state, I guess, but in Texas, anytime there's one detected, typically there's a zone applied to that area. And then sometimes if it's more than one reports, then during deer season, you have to stop at a check where you're supposed to stop at a checkpoint and get your deer checked. So they can do samples. But I was just curious because I didn't know, it's not a huge problem right now, but anytime you have it anywhere, it's a concern. And I was just, guy walks in and says, I'm going to buy this ranch. Has there ever been any CWD reported in this county or whatever? I was curious to know.
I haven't had that, but I do know this, that it's a subject that if you want to get on a forum and look at it, there's nobody.
Right.
Well, there's plenty of ammunition for both sides of the fence.
Sure.
So I try to stay neutral, but
yeah,
and because we have, like I said, we have relationships with people on both sides of that fence.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of deer breeders that we've done business with, and there's a lot of just recreational people, and so I don't know. I'm like you. I think there's a lot of stuff they don't know about it.
Yeah. Well, it's just like it's just I think the main thing is people have to just communicate about it. If they see it, they're reporting it, or if they have a deer that's acting funny, they report it. I think communication is the key, as it is in life. You just got to talk to each other and talk about what you're seeing, finding. Yeah, who knows? Maybe there's a CWD deer out there that had like the flu, and they recovered from it. Who knows? I mean, I don't know. It's just kind of a mystery disease to in some aspects. at this point. I was just curious if it had affected, the people buying land if they're curious. But I'm guessing 99% of the people out there don't even know what CWD is, or they know it as zombie deer disease, or they have no clue. But
it's just probably the same people that get worried about some of the disease in cattle, the bird flu that's going around right now. That's panicking a lot of people, and I don't think it's much of anything.
Well, they shut down the border. I can't believe. I don't know if you remember this, but a year or two ago, they shut down the border. You couldn't go to Canada and hunt waterfowl and bring it back. I'm like, well, what about all the ones that are flying across? The millions of birds that are flying across, and you're going to stop a guy from hauling 20 ducks back across the border?
Yeah,
come on.
Yeah. Kind of like
I just don't get it.
Travel policies during COVID, but they were pouring across the border.
Yeah, exactly.
Same thing.
So obviously, we know you like to fish because he's about to jump out of his skin over here. He can feel the boat underneath his feet right now.
His keys are jingling.
The hunting stuff. What do you like to hunt, Kent?
So, like I said, I grew up on the ranch, and I was either fishing or wing shooting, dove or quail or whatever I could shoot, ducks and geese. I used to live for duck hunting. I'd get up before school and go hunt ducks and come home and clean up and then go to school.
Yeah,
that's how mad at him I was.
As my mom used to say, that's eat up with it right there.
Yeah. Me and my best friend back that time, Bubba Cook, we hunted ducks and geese. It exhausts me now to think how many with things we would do. But so I love doing that growing up.
But it kept you out of trouble.
Yeah,
that's my mom. When I was a kid, I was always on the bayou. She's like, "Where are you going?" I said, "We're going to the bayou for the whole weekend." Okay, as long as you leave me your car keys, I know you're not out there dragging the streets.
Yeah. So going back to my great grandfather, he leased a place in Tarpley, Texas, in the 30s, I think. So I grew up going out there deer hunting, which was just heaven to me. I always thought if I ever won the lottery, I would go buy that ranch back.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful place, about 3,000 acres, about up outside of Tarpley.
Okay.
So, shot a bunch of white-tailed deer in my life growing up, hunted a little bit in South Texas.
Yeah.
Got to go to Wyoming when I was in high school. Actually, my senior year in high school, I got to go mule deer hunting up there for a week. Unfortunately, missed probably one of the biggest bucks I'll ever see on hoof. But I shot a black bear up there when I was in high school. Wow. I was 16. So that was fun.
Yeah.
Got to go spring bear hunting. I hunted pronghorn and, I did a lot of varmint hunting growing up. So hadn't got to do much in the past few years. Got 2 boys, and we try to do some bird hunting every now and then. I got them into sporting clays.
Right.
There again, the Houston Safari Club was the first sporting clay event I ever went to.
Yeah.
Didn't even know what it
Me
was.
Me too.
Now I'm kind of hooked.
Yeah.
And got my boys into it. And I hate to say, I think they both can outshoot me now.
Of course they can.
Of
course they can.
But that's been a lot of fun. We try to go fish whenever we can. But we went hunting. One of my coworkers, he had a nice place out in Junction, London, out there, and he actually let both my boys. They shot both their first deer on that place. So,
yeah,
thanks to David for letting me do that. But that was a fun time getting to see your kids, shooting their first whitetail.
How old were they?
Oh man, I don't even remember, Ramon. They were pretty young, but they didn't have any help from me. They had the gun, they held it, they shot it themselves, and I just sat there and you shoot that one.
So they were young.
Yeah, they were younger. I'd say 10, 11, somewhere in there.
Yeah. With what did they shoot it with?
So I think I'm pretty sure the first one shot his with the .222 that my great grandfather gave me when I was 9 years old.
Yeah,
still have it. Got the cut off stock. When he gave it to me, it didn't even have a scope on it. I shot my first 2 bucks with an open sight, .222, and I think the second one he shot it was my grandmother's 6mm rifle. It was a handmade gun.
Yeah,
I have 4 rifles from a gunsmith out of Beeville, Texas, and I can't find much history, but his name was Byron Dugat, and he makes most beautiful stocks, and my dad and grandfather had all had guns made from him, and I actually got to buy the last gun that he ever made from a hunting outfitter my dad's best friend, his whole life, bought an outfitting service in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. That's where I went to go bear hunting and deer hunting when I was in high school. Mm-hmm. And his partner, he wanted to give him a present for joining or being able. You had to have a resident to own the outfitting service, so he was the resident. And they bought that company, and he had that gun made for him. And he got Byron Dugat out of retirement to make that gun for him. Well, the business lasted about 4 or 5 years. I think they had a little falling out. Well, I happened to be up there skiing in the winter for college break, and he told me, he goes, I got that gun. He said, you know anybody wants to buy it? Because I want to get rid of it. And I said, I'll buy it. Yeah. Said, how much you want for it? He said, $500. I said, I'll take
Sold.
it. Because I knew the history of the maker, and I said, I'll pick it up for me this summer when I'm back up here. And I picked it back up, and it's a 7mm. But he was a big guy. I can hardly shoot it because the stock is really big.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool because it was made for an outfitter. There's no fancy work on it.
Yeah.
It's just a really nice wooden stock, real heavy. And I got I guess I put a Zeiss scope on it. And I've shot a couple deer in South Texas, out in Del Rio with it. But, yeah, it was pretty cool that I have that gun. That's the one that, if you don't know the history of it, you just look at it and say, it's just an old beat-up rifle. But
Right. Yeah.
I can't ever find out. I've tried to search on the internet, and I can't find a whole lot about him, but it's amazing that he built that many guns, but then nobody knows about him. He's been dead a long time.
There's got to be some collectors or something around Texas and the Houston area, especially, that have some insight.
Yeah, his last name was Dugat is how it's spelled. It's on every barrel. It's stamped on every barrel.
There's got to be a gun nerd somewhere that knows absolutely knows where that is.
Yeah. So
if you're listening, folks, and you know that name Dugat, you just call us at the Houston Safari Club Foundation office. We'll put you in touch with Kent and connect the dots there. That's pretty. It's a mystery.
A 6mm, a 243, a 270, and a 7mm.
Yeah, all of his.
All from him. Yeah.
Wow.
And they're all different actions.
That's crazy.
They're all totally different stocks.
Huh. Dugat, folks, if you're listening, hook us up. We need some information on this guy. Maybe there's even a family member listening. Well, Kent, man, we are unfortunately out of time, but it has been a pleasure as always. And I'm guessing we're going to hear some fishing stories next week. Probably have all the big fish he caught and
might
big
ones that got away.
Huh?
I might even send you a video.
Yeah, standing out in the surf at 30-mile-an-hour winds.
Look at these white caps.
Exactly. Folks, check them out. CapitalFarmCredit.com. You couldn't ask for a better partner if you're looking to get some land. And what's the motto again, Kent?
Together we're better.
That says it all. See you next time on Hunting Matters.
Hunting Matters is a Houston Safari Club Foundation production, hosted by HSCF Executive Director Joe Bitar and Ramon Robles. Produced by Ramon Robles. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. For questions or more information, email us at info@wehuntwegive.org.